How many laps did you do?
18.
18 laps.
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like 70.
That?
The course was a little short, so it was 74 miles.
Holy smokes.
I could have kept going.
Why Run Today, where we explore your why, because every run has a story.
Welcome back to Why Run Today, reviving the podcast portion of Why Run Today. And today we have Jaci Wilson with us from the Runner's Toolbox. Jaci Wilson runs on Instagram, right?
Yes.
Excellent. Just a little bit about Why Run Today. We recorded 5 or 6 episodes back in 2024 and then realized that our sound was terrible. Our setup wasn't great, and now we have a whole studio, and I have an assistant, and we have help for some other shows, and I'm like, I'm going to get back to talking to interesting people that run, and you were high on the list, Jaci.
That's awesome.
So glad to have you here. I would love to hear. Let's start with why. Why do you run, Jaci?
I think it's really evolved over the years. I originally just started running as a warm-up before I would lift. And I never ran in high school or college. It was something that I didn't like. As soccer players, we kind of made fun of the cross-country runners who were running around the field. Like, why would they just run for fun? But it was something that I really got into after college as just something for enjoyment, as a stress reliever before work, and just something to really prioritize myself with in the mornings. And then it's just evolved over time of actually loving to be outside and mental health reasons, physical health reasons, and just, I don't know, exploring an adventure and being able to do other things in my life. I think just that physical aspect, but then also the mental aspects of running has really just benefited everything.
That's awesome. So you were an athlete before you were soccer player?
Soccer player, yeah.
Grew up as a soccer. Did you play in college, high school, college?
High school.
Okay. Awesome. I mean, soccer players run a lot too.
Yeah.
Right?
Well, they say I think like 6 to 8 miles a game for a midfielder, and I was a midfielder. So we are running a lot. It's just you're focused on the ball and the players and not just on running.
Yeah, it's definitely a way different running when you're playing a game versus I think that's why I personally much prefer a trail run to running on the road, and especially running on the road to a treadmill. Right?
Yes, I agree with that.
Do you mostly run on trails on the roads, or you're not picky? You just run wherever you run? Yeah,
I started with road races and just running on the roads in town. And in the last couple of years, I've really gotten more into trail running and into the ultra world. But I'll just run outside every day of the year. I don't want to run on a treadmill at all.
Sure.
I just love being outside, and I think I need that component in my day too.
There is definitely something about running outside, both for, as you touched on before, the mental or spiritual side of like getting out and getting that release, or that you don't get if you're just beating a treadmill.
Right.
I think.
Yep.
I mean, I like my treadmill in the winter to walk on it and watch some TV.
That's great. That's great.
Right? Better than just sitting inside, but or just sitting on the couch. But yeah, I can't stand running on a treadmill. So when you said you started running before your workouts or before the gym workouts, right? Has running taken over? You do mostly running now? Are you still doing gym workouts? And how did that transition happen? Yeah,
I really got into lifting more in college. I grew up in Fergus, so I started the lifting program with Rats in 5th grade, and that's really how I got into lifting. And I continued that through high school, got into lifting more in high school or in college, and I've just continued that since. So now that I'm running more, I still lift 4 times a week just because it's something that, I don't know, I just feel like it's part of me now. But it also has its seasons. If I'm really in the peak of training for a race, maybe I'm doing 3 lifts a week and focusing more of my energy on running, but it's definitely still a part of who I am.
Awesome. Do you, how many races do you do? I see you're active in races. I do know, I've talked about it on the show before. My wife is the organizer for the Running Wild Trail Run up in Maplewood State Park. Everyone should come run it. Second weekend in June every year.
I agree with that.
You're the course record holder for the women, Jackie, and I think you set that the very first year.
Yeah, and I think
ago.
Broke it the year after, and maybe the third year that I ran it.
Third year. Awesome. And have you run every year? Or close?
Close every year. I believe the first year that I got into running, I ran the Lake Region Run, and then I got connected with people in town to run with. But the following week, we got married. So that was the weekend of Running Wild. So I did not run it that day.
You didn't run on your wedding day? Oh, my goodness.
But I think ever since then I have.
Awesome. So that was a trail run. What about other races, though? I do know, did you just win a backyard ultra, too?
I did, yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah, I've really gotten into the ultras in the last year and a half.
Okay.
And the backyard specifically has been a lot of fun.
Tell us a little bit about the Backyard Ultra for those not familiar with it.
Yeah, so the Backyard Ultra is formatted like a last man standing race. But specifically, every backyard you have an hour to complete 4.126 miles. And if you finish it in 45 minutes, you have 15 minutes to sit down, change socks, get more food, water, whatever you want. But you have to be in the starting corral at the top of the next hour. Otherwise, you're out. And if you don't complete your lap in an hour, you're also out.
Okay.
So as the race goes further on into it, less people are running, people drop out, people don't finish within an hour. And you just keep going to see how long you can run.
That sounds crazy.
It is.
And don't they usually start in the afternoon or morning?
Everyone is different.
Okay.
Most of the ones that I've done have started in the morning, but I did run one in April in the cities, and that started at noon.
Okay.
And there are some that start at like 5, 6 p.m.
Sure. I could see that for starting to weed people out earlier because night running is way different.
Yeah, it is. It is.
So how long did the one that you recently run, how many laps did you do?
18.
18 laps?
Yeah. Yeah, so it was like 70. The course is a little short, so it was 74 miles.
Holy smokes.
I could have kept going. It was so much fun. I love the format because this was a very small race. There were 11 of us running.
Sure.
So you talk to everyone and you get to know people. And you just have different conversations and you find out, oh, this person's very similar to me, or this person has another hobby like hunting, and you just have a conversation about that then.
Yeah. I will say it's probably true of most sports, but I think even more so in running that the connections you make in running are different.
Yeah.
Aren't they? Like
yeah. I think you have deeper conversations on the trail.
Or on the road. Or on the road. Yeah, that you can sit and talk, right? Like if you play soccer, yes, you have that time in between, or play hockey, you can sit on the bench and talk to other people on the bench, right? In between shifts. But when you're running, especially distance running, it is a lot about let's just go have a conversation.
Yeah.
Right? Do you do most of your training with someone or alone, or you mix it up? How do you train?
It's been a mix.
Okay.
I started just solo because I was still going to school and I was living in Fargo. So that was just all solo. I got connected with some people in Fergus, and I've been running with them. I used to run with them almost every day, and then I got more into speed workouts and everything, and I just needed to kind of separate my training from easy runs and running with friends. And now my husband is running too. So it's trying to balance, like, who am I running with today? So right now I actually don't have that many solo runs.
Okay.
But it's also a good thing. There's positives and negatives to everything, I guess.
Yeah. I did not start running until I turned 40, but I used to only want to run alone. And part of that was being a new runner.
Yeah.
Right. But part of it is like, I just want to go do my run. I don't want to do your run.
Yeah.
Like, but now, especially personally training for a marathon, like it's so nice to have somebody else with,
It is.
like you
Yep.
said, to have that conversation and talk to. But when I do the speed workouts, or if I have intervals, or if I have hills, like, again, I don't want anyone with. Like,
Yes.
leave me alone.
Yep.
Let me go. Let me just get my work in.
Yep.
There is a balance there. So you not only run yourself, now you coach.
Yes.
Tell me about what do you do as a coach? What's your day look like? What do you do? How do you help people? What?
Gosh, every day is different.
Okay.
But basically, I am helping runners. I'm creating a training plan for them that's custom to them, to their goals, their season of life. I sit down with them and kind of get an idea of, like, what does their work schedule look like? What does their family schedule look like? In terms of recovery, what days are going to be best for them? What are their goals for the race, both short term and long term? And then I put together a training plan for them. And it's very adaptable. So I'm going to see how they're adjusting to these first couple weeks of training. And if they're adapting well, then I'm going to continue training as I had written. If they're not adapting well, or they're adapting faster than I thought, then I'm going to make adjustments. And if a vacation comes up, or an illness comes up, or work comes up, we're just going to adjust on the fly, and we're going to rearrange runs, or we're going to say, no, like, that run isn't necessary. Let's just move on with the rest of the week. So it's a lot of conversations with them and how they're feeling, what's going on in their life, what they want to work on or focus on, and then just reviewing their training and what, like, the data actually looks like, but then also reading their comments after their runs of, like, oh, this felt awful, or this felt really good, or this felt better than I expected. And that helps us kind of adjust as we move closer to race day.
So how did you get into doing that?
So I originally did more strength and nutrition coaching.
Okay.
And my athletes that I was working with were runners. I wanted, like, strength and nutrition helped me so much in seeing the results that I saw in the first couple years of my running, that I just wanted to help other runners see that success. And at the time, a lot of runners had run coaches, but they spoke nothing about strength or nutrition or stress or sleep or anything. And since those are the aspects that helped me so much, I wanted to help them. So eventually they were asking, like, hey, you've helped me so much with nutrition and strength and sleep and everything. Can you also write me a training plan? And at the time I couldn't, because I didn't have a run coach certification, but I was like, why don't I? Why send them elsewhere when I've already worked with them and I understand their strengths and their weaknesses? So that's when I got my first run certification in 2020. And then I've just continued to add them on.
Sure. Makes sense. So you are a certified coach.
Yes.
You're not just throwing plans out.
No.
You don't pull up AI and like say, please give me a run plan for.
Sometimes I do ask, like, ChatGPT, like, okay, like, this is a scenario. How can I tweak this? But it's helpful in different situations. But
Sure.
no, I'm creating the plans myself.
Yeah, you're a professional certified coach. I think that's important.
Yes.
Tell me about your customers, clients. What do you call your?
I call them athletes.
Athletes.
Yeah.
Tell me about your athletes. Like, who's your typical athlete? Who are you working with?
I would say, so I would say at the time a perfectionist. I've really learned aspects that help me and hurt me in that perfectionism, but very driven, and I tend to attract those same people. So they are the high performers, those that are trying to figure out, like, how they can continue to improve. And a lot of them love to learn. So they have seen success coaching themselves, and they get to that point of, like, I don't know what else to do. So those are a lot of the people that I work with, but they are from 20 to 65, 70. I think I have someone right now who is 60, like upper 60s. So yeah, there's just a wide variety of people all over the United States. I have some local in Fergus, some in Fargo, a couple further out in North Dakota, and then a couple in Canada and one in Denmark right now.
Wow. Men and women, primarily
Yes.
women? Or?
Primarily women. I think I currently have 3 men on my roster.
Okay. And what would you say, like, are they typically, is it they're specifically looking for a race and you're helping them with that race, or is it like a year long where you're helping them prepare for multiple races, or is that also all over the board?
It typically starts out with like, this is the goal that I have for a marathon or an ultra or half marathon. And after that, it just evolves. So this is what I want to do next, or I want to continue improving on my half marathon time. Or I do have some people who aren't specifically training for a race and they just want to get stronger at trail running. And I have a couple people in Colorado who just really want to get better at running at altitude and feeling better on the trails. And I just had someone who was training for a marathon in somewhere in Colorado. But she got to the point, we were 2 weeks out from race day, and she's like, I've decided that I don't want to run the marathon, because she did a couple of her long runs on the trails and she fell in love with it. And it's like, okay, let's just shift then and let's focus on the trails.
Sure.
So everyone has this goal that they want to start working on, and it always evolves. It always changes, which I think is like a beautiful thing about running too.
Right. Yeah. The variety of what you can do with running, right?
Yes. Yep.
There are so many things. I started running, like I said, when I turned 40, but it was purely like, I turned 40, I should probably get myself in shape or do something. And that just evolved more into, what else can I do to be in better shape for my future, my family, and those things, right? Mm-hmm. So we have those goals, but then my wife loves the marathon distance, and so I decided to try that this year.
That's awesome.
It was a great 4 months of training, and then the race was canceled.
And what race was that?
It was the Eugene Curnow Trail Marathon up in Duluth, and it was like purple smoke levels the day it was supposed to. We couldn't see across the campground.
Wow.
It was brutal. But you have all that training, right? And that base, and you're ready to run. I was probably not actually ready to run, let's be honest. But I didn't cry when it was canceled. I'll put it that way. but we did shift. Now we're doing it October 4th. We're doing a different one, same trail. I can't remember which, I don't know, another race series in Duluth. But it's the same trail going the opposite direction, going from Jay Cook State Park into Duluth.
Okay.
We'll see if I'm ready for that. That one's 27 miles, so I think I can say I did an ultra before I did a marathon. Yeah. How about that? But where am I going with all this? As far as train, like if you were, for me, I just kind of pulled up a plan and figured out what I was doing. I'm mostly a 5K runner. Like 5 miles was great prior to doing this, but I went online and just searched up a plan and kind of followed it. You know, I am friends with Paul Scholl. You're friends with him as well. Yeah. He's an ultra guy, so I don't necessarily trust him on his advice, right? Like I just go run this. I'm like, oh, Paul, you can run 20 miles at like a 6-minute pace. So that's not me. I don't trust. But I did lean on him a little bit for what should some goals be as I was doing it. But mostly I just followed online and kind of how I felt. Mm-hmm. As a coach, what would you say? Like, obviously not obviously, I haven't run the race and succeeded yet, but it should work. But what advantages are there? What's the disadvantage maybe of just pulling something off the internet to use as a training plan?
A lot of times we call them cookie cutter plans, a pre-written plan, is written for one specific goal, whether it's written based on like a finish time, or like this is a 20-week plan for your first marathon. And I think one of the mistakes that runners make is like, what is my current fitness level compared to my goal? And sometimes I'll get runners who are like, I want to run a 4-hour marathon because that's what everyone talks about. And that's what people consider to be fast, I guess. But is your fitness level a 4-hour comparable to a 4-hour marathon? Or is your 5K time saying you're actually going to run like a 4:30? And it's really setting that expectation with that runner so that they can understand, so that there isn't disappointment, and kind of walking them them through the process of, okay, this is like where you are right now, and this is your long-term goal, and how are we going to get to that goal? Because you don't have to throw that goal away. You don't have to throw whatever time or distance you want to run away, but we need to get there realistically, and we need to do it smart. So sometimes training plans are just a constant build of volume, and we need cutback weeks. And sometimes the pre-written plan doesn't have strength training, or there's no one like talking you through what you're feeling, and is that feeling okay? Is that feeling normal? Or is that like overtraining to the point of, is there an injury that's going to come up? Are you pushing it too much? I see it more when people are like, I will follow something, I just need to be told what to do. And that's where runners get into trouble, because they force training when it shouldn't be forced. And maybe a rest day should be taken instead of actually pushing that speed workout, or maybe we should switch runs up. So that's the biggest advantage of working with a coach, is it is custom to you, and you have someone to ask questions of and talk through different scenarios and figure out like, what do I actually need right now, and what's going to benefit me the most to achieve my goals and to stay healthy and injury free.
That makes a lot of sense. I was just thinking while you're talking, like, I know one place I was truly lost was on fueling. When you're coming from a 5K, like,
yeah.
I drank a bottle of water before I started, right? And I'll get one when I'm done, yeah. Right? But I did notice, like, my first over 10-mile run, especially on a trail, like, I should have had something more than water with, or I should have planned ahead for something else. Or we talked right at the start of this that the humidity, it's been super humid around here lately. I have noticed significant improvement if I have an element an hour prior. I can actually complete my workout. And if I drank 3 cups of coffee over at Outstate before I ran, I am going to fail my workout.
Yeah.
And you don't, as a 5K runner, I don't think of that stuff, because I could drink 4 cups of coffee and go run a 5K pretty easy. Well, not easy. I'd probably puke, but learning all that, I still don't feel comfortable with, like, I don't necessarily have a plan for my race in October either, but I at least know I need to think about it. Yeah. And I assume that's stuff that you would help with then.
Yes.
With runners, is kind of develop that.
Yeah, we talk a lot about nutrition, both during the run and outside of the run. So how are you going to support your energy levels throughout the day? How are you going to help your body recover? All of that comes from your daily nutrition. And then during your run, we really start with, okay, what fuel sources can your stomach handle? What fuel sources do you enjoy? What fuel sources can you eat run after run after run? And some people can eat a lot of fuel before and during their runs, and some people really need to train their gut. So we work through that process, and there's a lot of documentation of, I fueled every 30 minutes, and this is how many grams of carbs I had, and this is how many grams of sodium I had. And then if that went well, let's do that again next week. If it didn't go well, let's maybe tweak a little bit if there was something that we can see that's obvious, or let's try it again and see if you just need to train your gut a little more.
That makes sense. I always thought, well, I don't want to do too much of myself, but I did not ever feel like I was a fasted runner for sure up until I started training. Like, I did not want to eat before I went out, and I'd eat a ton when I was done. But now I know, and I'm running way slower. There's some hiking involved, right? Yeah. Planning for an ultra, but I can crush a whole Snickers bar and just keep running now. Yeah. That's awesome. So it's pretty amazing how, it's probably not the best choice, but man, after it, like at mile 13, a Snickers bar is exactly what I want. Yeah. So, and that reward of being at that mileage and getting it is pretty great. But it is weird how the body can adjust like that.
It is. Yep.
So, what do you have any clients that you've worked with that have done something outstanding, that won races, achieved super goals, anything that you can share?
So I have one athlete right now who his goal is to run a sub 4-hour marathon in all 50 states.
Oh, wow.
So he's working on that. And his first kind of goal to that is to run all 50 states, a marathon. And then we'll continue to work on that sub 4 for the races the states that he missed the first round.
Okay.
So I think we'll finish all 50 states in 2027, I believe. And then he wants his 50th state to be Boston because he's from Massachusetts.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So that's been a really fun process. And it was something at the beginning, I kind of pushed back against because it goes against my philosophy of not overdoing the marathon and really working on some 5K and 10K stuff in between to get faster at the marathon each year. But it's worked really well for him. And we've really figured out how he can do 4 to 6 marathons a year and still continue to get faster. So that's been a fun project. And I have another runner who her mom passed away from MS. And she last year decided she was going to run 82 miles, which would have been her mom's 82nd birthday.
Oh, wow.
So that was also fun just to see her accomplish that. And she had her park loop that she ran, and she had friends that came out and ran with her. And that was just a huge accomplishment for her. But also that's just like a huge accomplishment for anyone to run 82 miles in under 24 hours. Yeah. So that was also a fun one.
Wow. That's crazy. I'm thinking on both stories, like how the planning for the 50 states, like how long of a that's way more than when I think of a training plan. I'm thinking like, oh, let's figure out we're gonna eat healthy, we're gonna work out, and then here's 12 weeks of runs that that's much more serious than a short-term plan.
It's interesting because he has his states mapped out, and these are the possible states that I could run this year or next year, and it's kind of a jigsaw puzzle to fit them all together. And sometimes like 2 races are 3 weeks apart. So the focus is on recovery in between there. And he's done great with that second marathon. But I think the mistake that someone would make without a coach is continuing to think that they have to run in between those 2 races, where the focus should really be on the recovery. Because the fitness is there. You just ran a marathon. You know that you can do it.
Right.
So let's help our body recover. And typically it does take 2 to 3 weeks for everything on like a microscopic level to recover from a marathon, just from the stress of it. So helping him understand that the focus is on recovery, and then we'll get into just a couple easy runs and then maybe like one short speed workout just to get the legs turning over before going into the next one again.
Sure. How about from a technology side? Do you you want to see all their data from Garmin, or they're putting it in? Like how are you tracking all of that? Yeah. Or are there people who are just field based? And I'll preface it by saying I'm the type of person that if the run wasn't recorded, it didn't happen. It doesn't count. If I forgot to unstop my watch when I paused, then that mile that I just missed that mile, like it didn't count. But I'm also the person who doesn't like rest days. Okay. So, but so are you reviewing that data, or what do you want from your clients?
Yeah. So ideally they have a running watch, Garmin, Coros, or like some of the most popular ones. And that links directly to the platform that I use called Training Peaks. Okay. And that's where I upload their training plans. And since their watch is linked to that, all the data feeds into Training Peaks. So I can see everything. They can see it all too. But then the other awesome part is when I program a workout for them, since it's in Training Peaks and their watch is connected to it, it uploads to their watch and it tells them exactly what to do. So they don't have to write down everything, like if they're doing it on the treadmill or whatever. So I look at the data, the objective data on Training Peaks, but I also want them to leave comments of how it felt, what went well, what didn't go well, because that's the other half of the data is how does it actually feel? And I've worked with some athletes who don't have a fitness watch and they're using their phone or something. So I can't see any of that. And that's difficult because I don't know how they're progressing. And some people will say, oh, that was an easy run, but they're not able to maintain a conversation and their heart rate was 175 the entire time.
Sure.
So there are some runners that I've helped understand, like, that's not actually an easy run, and they'll see the benefits of slowing down those runs. But if I can't see that data, I can't help with that. So it is more difficult for those athletes, but we just kind of make it work.
Sure. Make it work. I was thinking on the heart rate thing when you were talking to, like, I don't trust the Garmin wrist heart rate, and I like the conversational pace idea.
Yes. Yep.
But there's definitely days where I can have the conversation, then I look at my Garmin watch and it did say 163 for like 43 minutes. And I'm like, there is no way that I was at that heart rate, because we just sat and talked for I had no problem talking for that. Yeah. So there's a balance there, right?
Yes.
And tracking that. I assume all watches wrist-based are.
Yeah, I've seen some that are really far off. Okay. I have a chest strap heart rate monitor, and it's been very consistent with my watch. And I also have an armband for my indoor bike, and those have all been consistent. So I'll wear the chest strap sometimes. In the summer, not so much. But it just kind of depends on the watch. Some are really far off, and they can be 20, 30 beats off from the chest strap. So I just make sure those athletes are using their chest strap so we can see that data.
Sure. How much of your training do you do based on heart rate? Is that a lot of how you write a training plan, is heart rate training, or I assume it's goal-based?
Based on the goals, what we're working on. Easy runs, I go based on heart rate and based on feel. Speed workouts, if we're really working on like 5K pace or half marathon pace or marathon pace, then I'll do it based on pace. I'm still looking at heart rate because I want to make sure that they're not in threshold the entire time while they're running marathon pace, because then we need to consider, like, is this goal still realistic, or do we need to switch the focus of our training and do more like VO2 max work so that we can raise that ceiling so that our threshold can increase, and then marathon pace is not threshold pace. Sure. So there's a lot that goes into it, and I think that's the fun part of like figuring out like what puzzle do you need to move around, and like where do all the pieces fit in.
A great reason on why not to just download your cookie cutter plan. Right? Yeah, I wouldn't think of that. So, I mean, I look at my heart rate, but I usually, because I don't always trust it. Yeah. I more trust how I felt on that. But,
yeah.
I'm also not professional.
I have some athletes that run based on rate of perceived exertion. That's what they prefer, and that's completely fine. And I think that's also a valuable tool to understand, like, this is truly easy, or understanding, like, this is what marathon pace feels like, because I'm going to run the Chicago Marathon, and my watch is not going to be reliable at all for pace. So I just need to look at the time when I hit those mile splits, and I need to be able to understand what that pace feels like.
Sure. That makes sense. What advice would you, let's talk maybe different levels of runner, someone who, I'm sure we don't have any listeners that haven't run before, but we can kind of start at the couch to 5K group to middle of the road runner to an experienced runner. Is there like, you have 3 little pieces of advice for those people, what like key things they should look at? Or
I would say for the beginner runner, walking is perfectly fine. Like, walking is an aerobic activity, and that's the foundation of running. So start with walking, and don't feel like you have to run your entire run. I think a lot of people get into running and they push it too hard, and then they fall out of love with running. So if you can keep it easy and fun, I think that's a beautiful thing. And when my husband first started running, I think it was in 2018, he would run a couple miles with me every day. But it was way too hard, and he didn't enjoy it. It felt too hard. Like, he doesn't like that exertion. And then shin splints came into play. And now that he's really experienced what an easy run feels like, getting back into running, I guess last year, now he does like that aspect of it, and like, oh, this is enjoyable. I can run 5-6 miles and go on with my day. So I think just understanding that it doesn't have to feel hard. And although it may feel hard in the beginning, like, run walk intervals is the best way to get started.
Awesome. How about that middle of the road? Or I use me as an example. Running the 5K regularly, but I don't like running more than 5 miles. Is there something like, if I kind of want to reach to the next level, what's the advice you kind of give that person, or what should they look at or start with? Or
the advice that I would have is understand that there's different components that go with each race distance. And as the race distance increases, the things that you hopefully started doing in the beginning are even more important now. So as people increase the race distance, they usually stop strength training, or they don't strength train as much. And they may be eating the same amount that they were doing when they were doing 1 to 2 runs a week, but that's even more important now. Because you're using up more energy and you need to help with recovery. So actually doing those things more is more important as you continue to increase those goals.
Excellent. If I'm at the top of my game, I'm not, but what's the most important thing? Let's take an example, a runner who's doing those 50 marathons. On the recovery side, or in between races, or preparing for the next one, what should their focus be, or what are they looking at?
You're looking to optimize, like, what can I do a little bit better? Can I get 30 minutes more sleep? Can I eat more foods that are high in antioxidants? Can I sit down more during the day? Like, am I constantly standing up when I could be sitting down some? And also just being open to change. Because even though that has worked for a year, 2 years, 5 years, it's not always going to continue to work. And being open to tweaking some things, changing some things up is beneficial. And sometimes it shocks the body into even higher performance because it's not used to it. It's like, oh, this is different. Like, let's just ride with this. So I think that's probably the biggest piece of advice that I have.
Excellent. Let's jump into your personal life a little bit. I see on your social media that you do a lot of pheasant hunting.
Yeah.
And a lot of time with dogs. Outside of running, what do you do, Jackie?
Yeah, so I really got into pheasant hunting a couple years ago when we got our second dog. We have 2 hunting dogs. They're small Munsterlanders.
Nice.
And I was like, when we just had the one dog, I would take her out to the 1 mile property and just let her run through the field or whatever. And then my husband would take her hunting during hunting season. But when we got our second dog, I was like, well, I'm already taking her out to the field. And depending on where we're going, like, we can be kicking up pheasants. Why don't I just carry a shotgun with me and start hunting?
Nice.
So that's really how that started. And I've just fallen in love with it. I love just, like, I'll take my dogs to run with me on the trails or whatever. And I think that's like an extra level of loving the sport of running. Just watching them enjoy being outside and hunting and running too. So it's just, I don't know, taking running to the next level of running benefits my hunting, and I can hunt all day if I need to. But I'm also with my dogs. So, and then they're tired at the end of the day.
Sure. Yes, you have some dogs that need to work.
Yes. Yep.
So you got to get them out.
Yes.
Yeah. Did I see you do competition hunts too? Is that, or you have done?
So part of like our dogs fall under, it's called NAVDA is I guess the acronym for it. But they want to see like, what's the natural ability of your puppy? So I think if the dog is like 12 months to 16 months, I think it's under 16 months, you can test them for their natural abilities test. So when we got our first one, we didn't quite know what we were doing, so we didn't test her. But then when we got our second dog, it's like, okay, I'm going to do this. So that was just seeing like, how do they naturally track? How do they naturally hunt? How do they naturally point? And then their obedience. So there wasn't a ton of training that went into that besides obedience. That's the biggest thing. But then just how do they work out in the field and how well do they do? So that was really fun, and she did really well. And that's just really benefited her and our other dog with hunting. And then I did some force fetch training with them 2 years ago, I think now, during the winter. And that's just making sure that when I shoot the bird, they go get it and bring it back to me.
Sure. I a long time ago used to be into training labs, and I did force fetch my own dog. That's a lot of work.
It is, but it's rewarding. That bond that you have with that dog afterwards is something special.
Yeah, that's great. So you spend a lot of time with dogs. What else do you do outside of your running?
I spend time at the lake. We have a huge garden, so we love freezing and canning vegetables, and we have strawberries and honeyberries. Basically anything outside. Camping, traveling. We just went to Kodiak, Alaska. This is our 3rd time there.
Oh, wow.
So we did a bunch of hiking, and then we fished for 4 days. So that was a lot of fun.
That sounds really great. What were you catching on your fishing?
So we did 2 days on the ocean. So that was halibut, rockfish, lingcod, some salmon. And then we did 2 days of fly fishing on the river. So that was all salmon.
That sounds amazing.
It was.
Did you get to bring a bunch of fish home then too?
Oh yeah, we brought it all back.
Nice.
So it was over 200 pounds, 5 boxes of fish.
Nice. So you have your garden and your salmon. You should be well fueled for the fall then.
Yeah, and all of our meat too.
Nice.
So we deer hunt, we bear hunt, and then my husband does like a lot of duck hunting, goose hunting, and then all of the upland birds. So.
That sounds extremely healthy.
It's very busy.
Yeah. I love it. Well, if somebody wants to connect with you for coaching or to discuss coaching, how do they do that?
So my website is JaciWilsonRuns.com. And then I'm also very active on Instagram. So either way works.
Excellent. And that's Jaci Wilson Runs on Instagram as well. Jaci.Wilson.
Yes.
.runs. Yep. And it's Jaci Jackie.
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah.
Perfect. Because there's like 100 ways to spell Jackie, I think. And also, there's another Jackie W in town who I've talked about coming on here. So then I was like, oh, we can't call it just the Jackie W. Why Run Today? Because you guys both spell it Jaci.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So, I guess anything else you would like to add or anything we did not cover that you would like people to know?
I think the biggest thing is just finding like what brings you joy. And I think that's why running can evolve so much. Like I started on the roads and I had that passion for racing half marathons and really pushing myself and to see like how fast can I actually run. And then it evolved into the marathon and seeing how far I can run, which then kind of went to the trails and just being outside more and enjoying nature and running with my dogs and incorporating those aspects into hunting, but then also pushing myself in the backyard with like, okay, like how long can I actually run through the day and through the night? So it's always going to evolve. And I think that's okay. And I think that's also a good thing. So sometimes it can be hard for people when it's kind of forced to change. But kind of just working through that and figuring out like what are the aspects that I can keep, what do I need to leave behind, and how is this going to benefit me going forward while also finding joy in it all.
That's awesome. And a great point and part of why Run Today is there are so many different ways that it can be running.
Yes.
Perfect. Well, thanks for coming on. I appreciate
thanks for having me on.
Yeah, we'll chat again soon, I hope.
Yes, we will.
Thanks for listening to Why Run Today. Every run has a story, and we're glad you shared yours.